Hi, thanks for stopping by, checking out my channel. My name is Nicholas Patrick, and I'm a professional film score composer. Today, I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of a rescore that I've recently done. So, why do I do rescores? Well, I don't always have work. So, sometimes to keep my skills sharp, I will find something on the internet, dump the audio, and try my hand at it, see how well I can do. This is a touching short film about a father and his young daughter. Unfortunately, the young daughter has taken ill and fallen into a coma, and the father is trying to coax her out of a coma with a familiar, beloved melody from a little wind-up music box. It's very touching. It goes through a lot of different emotions, highs and lows, and I'm going to take you through some of the decision-making process that I've done. So I'm going to switch you over so you can see what I see. Okay, so this is my project, and please bear with me. I've only done one of these before, so there's a bit of a learning curve. This is going to be unrehearsed and unedited. It's just going to be raw, and I hope that you can accept it with a little bit of grace and forgiveness. Okay, so the first one of these, I'm rewinding this a bit. The first one of these I did, the format I started with was playing the film all the way through with no audio, just so the audience would have some kind of idea of what it was about. This is a really long one, and I don't want to waste your time. So what I'm going to do is just kind of fast forward through this, and I'll stop at periodic points. All right, so we start off with the father winding up the music box, and he's just putting a little bit of a wind on it so it doesn't play all the way through, and we hear a hint of the melody. Okay, but what he's doing is trying to give his little daughter a clue of where he is, because they are playing hide and seek, and he's hiding in the closet there, you see. All right, we're fast forwarding. She's walking around looking for daddy, right? She doesn't know where he is, right? And what he does here, he's like, oh, okay, I guess the music bot didn't work. And he takes to humming the same tune. So this is him humming through it, right? And then she's like, oh, I think I know where he is. Yay, it's fun, right? It opens up very warm and loving, father and daughter playing hide and go seek. But then the mood changes pretty quickly. We fade to rather her being in the hospital bed, and then him pinning memories. It's very sad. He's very alone, and he gets the idea to try and maybe coax her out. This is how she finds daddy, right? With this little melody. So he whines, and she hears the melody again. And then what we're going to do here is, now we're drifting to the other side. This is going to sound insensitive, but this is a child's dream in coma land. I don't know. And it's kind of a warm little magical place. Now, let me back up a little bit here. She hears the melody from the other side. It's kind of a distant wash, right? And she's like, oh, where's daddy? All right. And the melody kind of fades off, and then it plays, another little tune of her kind of playing around. See her playing hopscotch, and she's going to find daddy in this kind of little wonderland that she's in, this dream world. All right, then we wipe or fade. I keep saying wipe. We fade back to reality, and there he is, by her bedside, and we see the little music box there, and he continues day after day, night after night, trying to get her to come back to daddy, right? But he gets these little hints that he's reaching her, these little hints, right? Then we fade back, and then oops, she hears daddy. She hears that melody, and she goes looking for him. This part, I'll just give you a note. This was my favorite part to write. It was especially fun because it goes through a few different emotions. Like at first, I really should get into this later, but I'm just so excited. First is she's looking, and look at this magical place that she's in. It's just so much fun. But then, ooh, wait a minute, it's a little darker, and I have to, adjust the music here, put a little more emotion in it. And then there's this really wonderful, like, wow, look at that. And then it switches emotions again, like right back to concern and worry. You see her little face there. She's like, what's behind this door? All right. All right. And she's like peering into darkness, like, ooh, what's back there? That's scary. All right. But she hears the melody again, and she takes off looking for Daddy. I know this is rushed, but we'll go through it with the music. And then this is him, exhausted, tired, and look what happens. He breaks the music box. And in his mind, this is the lifeline to his daughter. So he frantically picks up the pieces. And this is not a music box repairman, but he's going to try his hand at it, right? So he's doing his best to put it back together. Hours go by. Here's the finished product. He gives it a try. Boom, it breaks. And, he's feeling lost. And then it wipes back over to Dream World, where things are getting darker for the daughter while she's looking for Daddy. And this is an especially low point, right? He is just, all hope is lost. He's broken his music box. He's really feeling it. See the tears there. He's given up on the music box. And then he starts humming the melody, and it stirs her a little bit. You see it? He hears a little. He said, oh, wait, I can still sing. That's what he did in the beginning. He sung to her to lead her to Daddy, right? And he sees that little bit of flutter, a little bit of response. He's getting through to her, so he continues to sing. And then she starts to hear it from the other side. And then she falls and hurts herself, finds a resolve, and continues looking for Daddy. Finds this familiar toy. Wait a minute, now we're kind of back in the closet, you see? And she sees all those memories of Daddy on the wall, wipes the dust off, right? And then we're back where we started with the hide and seek, right? And this is her finding her way home. And she wakes up with Dad to receive her. And of course, it's a very touching moment. And that is the short film. So I know that was rushed, forgive me, but I wasn't going to sit in silence while you watched, or make you rather sit in silence while you watch a nearly 9-minute short film, just to give you some context. So I had to speed through it. All right, so what I'm going to do here is take this and pull it down some so we can operate within the project window. For those of you that are unfamiliar with this is called Cubase. This is a DAW, a digital audio workstation. It is basically a music studio inside of a computer, and it makes virtual composing a reality. I would not be able to compose without this because it just costs way too much money. But with the miracle of technology, I can. Okay, I'm going to snap to the beginning there. Okay, so I'm going to start playing this thing, and I'll stop it periodically and talk about my decisions, and we'll just kind of wing it, and I hope that you guys get something from this and you're able to add it to your toolbox. I'm not going to go into a lot of the music theory. I will if there are requests, if you want to see, because there's lots of modes and key changes and little tricks to keep this interesting. I will touch on them, but I'm not going to go into bringing up the keyboard and then showing you exactly how this was accomplished, because that will be hours and hours and hours. This is really just about the decision-making process, why I chose to go with certain emotions or to go with certain melodies. Go with certain modes. Okay, so here we go. Again, there's no sound effects. This is just showcasing the music. So that's the first hint. This is warm and inviting. And plus, okay, I'm going to stop it there. This da-na-na-na, that is a little motif. It's a little fraction of the main melody that we'll hear a few times, the music box melody. It's kind of a little foreshadowing of getting you familiar to hear this kind of cue. We'll start again. Again, he winds the music box, and we hear just a hint of the melody. And you'll hear that bum-ba-dum-bum. again, warm. You hear the flutes doing it. Na, 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 na. A little foreshadowing there. Okay, so real quick, why did I go with that? I've already alluded to it just a little bit. This is a warm opening scene, and very often, unless you're doing some kind of artistic juxtaposition, however you say that, usually you copy what's on the scene. You don't grind against it, you go with it. This is warm, it's playful. There's a little bit of bounce in the strings and the winds. Woodwinds can often and very easily lighten the mood. I find that sometimes if I'm trying to create something really serious and I throw in some woodwinds, if it's not done just right, it has this very lightning effect. Not lightning like coming from the clouds. It lightens the mood. So a go-to for light and bouncy is always winds for me. And anyway, we transition here. Oh, and I only go for hints of the melody because we're going to hear it over and over again. And I want the audience to be familiar with it enough to enjoy the repetition, but not beat them over the head with it. There's a fine balance when trying to do when you're trying to compose. Repetition is good, over repetition is bad. Repetition creates a sense of familiarity. Oh, I know this. It gives little clues, like like for example, in Star Wars. All right, you're dun 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 dun. Dun. Wait, that's not it. What is it? Yeah. Dun bum 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 ba-dum. That's what it is. Sorry, excuse me. Bum 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 ba bum. I think I was humming the death tune. Dun 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 dun. When you hear that, you know Darth Vader is coming, right? The music tells you something, and in a similar fashion, of course, this is not Star Wars, and no, there's no Darth Vader, but this melody, it signals something, right? So we want to be able to hear it. But you don't want to beat them over the head with it. So there are just little hints of it in this opening, right? It's also a good option if you want to go for it to just flat out hit them with the melody the first time and then bring it back later. Both are solid approaches. I just went with hints because I felt it fit the timing of the scene. All right, moving forward. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, because I think we've seen this. Well, I think this is close enough to transition. And then we quickly have to transition to sad. It's not really that complicated. What's going on is sad. I'm playing sad music. Okay, so the sad transition here. If you'll notice, it's not a big, huge orchestra doing, it's not every single instrument just swelling in, playing this heart-wrenching music. It's a solo violin, a subtle piano. And there's a reason for that, because in this scene, he is alone. Look at him. I mean, sure, his daughter's there, but he is by himself in this solitude. And sometimes a single instrument, a lone, sad instrument, or a couple, because there's the solo violin, the piano kind of twinkling a little bit in the background. This open space, this emptiness and this solitude, I think kind of mirrors what's happening. Again, we want to mirror what's happening in the scene. So we hear solo strings. We hear the piano just kind of, it's not real busy, it's slow. So a rule I often go with emotion is, how would someone speak to you in this moment? If you sat down, if you walked in the room and you're buddies with this guy and you're like, "Hey man, how's it going?" He'd be like, "It's tough. I'm suffering. I'm alone. I don't know what I'm gonna do." Right? He wouldn't be wailing and rambling. It would be soft, spoken tones. It would be single word answers. It would be a lot of silence, a lot of space. And I try to mirror the music that way. Now, if this was the moment that she was hurt, or because they don't really tell us what happened in this, we just know that she's taken ill. If it was that moment that she was hurt, let's assume she fell or something. In that moment, you could go with big strings and swelling because his heart is aching, and I mean that's probably how we would talk. Oh my goodness, this isn't meant to be disparaging. I'm just a bad actor, but okay. So, all right, we've heard this. I'm gonna try and move forward. Okay, move forward. See, a lot of open space, little touches here and there. All right, and then it fades out, and then we hear the melody for the first time from the music box all the way through. This melody is Lydian. For the first half, it's an F Lydian, and the second half, it is A harmonic minor. So it's half and half. All right, and I'm going to back up there. Let's move forward a little bit. To see what I did there, when he starts playing the melody, fast forward just a little. When he starts playing the melody, we hear it on this side, and then we kind of wash to her dream world, and I pull back the direct signal and let the reverb kind of take over to give the impression that we're hearing it from the other side. It's kind of washy and distant. Again, she knows that sound, so she wakes up excited. And then we quickly pull it down and make room for this. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to bring us back up to the cue as it snaps us back where we started. Okay, so a little bit about this melody. Again, there's winds and strings. There's even a marimba in there. It's light and playful. So the reason this is in Dorian, by the way. Dorian, it can do a lot of things, but one of the easy ways to describe it, one of the kind of low hanging fruit things you can do with Dorian, is it's happy and it's sad. It's somewhere in between major and minor. So it's happy, sad, sad, happy. And that was very useful for me. So I created this little melody, and I was able to stretch it into like maybe five repetitions without having to change key or anything. All I really had to do was change the arrangement each time you hear it. The first time you hear it, it's kind of tame and subtle. We're introducing it, and then it's big and then we change to a string quartet, and then slow it down, and then we change again to just piano with some synth pad in the background to create emotion, and we slow it down again. And so I was able to get a lot of mileage, so to speak, out of this melody without having to do any key changes or mods, just by rearranging it and changing the tempo a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to play it again. I'm going to talk you through it. Oh, there we go. So, winds and marimba, and I introduce it with chimes here. Really, it's the celeste and the vibraphone paired together. Now we hear it with strings. The arrangement is still the same, of course. This point was key here, where it started to transition. I had to drop the full arrangement and just allow the strings to come through, because of the timing that's involved there. I couldn't continue on with this full arrangement and capture the emotion, going back to the emptiness of being alone in solitude with his daughter there. So I had to back everything off and just let the strings kind of carry it to the end of Now we hear another arrangement of it. Same thing. Slowed down the tempo, but now it's a quartet. And we hear it again, even slower, with just some piano and a little bit of synth kind of sustaining in the background. I keep that synth going here. Now we're moving to the next scene. And I play the melody slower than what the music box is doing to give you some idea that this music is not necessarily being heard in the movie. It's on the movie. Diegetic versus non-diegetic. Okay, so this is my favorite part. I'm going to start this over. All right, so actually first. So she's going to hear a hint of the melody again, like she has before, and then, oh, I know that, and then start looking for Daddy, right? So I play it. I make the decision to play it from the music box, like you hear, like you've heard before, but I quickly fade the music box down and fade in a solo violin, and then I bring in this full arrangement that I worked really hard on. I'm very proud of how it turned out. I'm just going to play it, and then we'll walk through it. Okay, so snapping back. So this was a lot of fun for me. I'm going to talk a little bit about the music theory, but I'm not going to go into too great detail. Again, this main melody is in F Lydian for the first half, and the second half, it seamlessly mods to A minor, A harmonic minor, which isn't really that big of a difference between F Lydian, and it's basically it's all the notes in C major except the A harmonic minor has an E major in it, or the G sharp diminished chord, which is really, very closely related. Anyway, I love this melody. It's one of my favorite little melodies. Lydian has this sense of magic, and A harmonic minor has this sense of I don't know if mystery is the right word. So we introduce, and there's introduce and here. This is still. Okay. So lots of harmonic movement is how I created this sound. What is harmonic movement? Okay, so block chords, you just hit chords, right, and they sustain. Harmonic movement, you can hear it especially in the strings. There is this this movement between the scale notes. If you can come up with a cool pattern while you're going through the chords, there's this movement that keeps there's an energy that comes from it without having to do a bunch of staccatos or having to put drums behind it. It becomes kind of like this embedded rhythm that also harmonically works. It adds depth, it adds emotion, and it adds movement. It's subtle. You really have to listen for it to hear what I'm talking about. But you don't need to know anything about music just to get the feel from it. So this first half here, backing up just a little. This first half, I'll tell you where it switches from F Lydian to A minor. Backing up a little more. I'm sorry. So that's F Lydian. There. Now it's A harmonic minor. So this section, that is a G diminished chord, and I'm going to switch to A minor, and then I think I move up to B flat major, and then to E major, then to D major. This it's basically not in a key at that point. They're just borrowed chords and mods that will eventually get me to B minor. So B minor was my goal. I could get there very quickly. This was a way to kind of fill up time and to add a little bit of variety. Because if I just repeat the melody over and over and over again, that's boring. Okay, this is the first time the audience is hearing the big production of the melody, and I probably could get away with repeating it twice, but I don't know. I just think that's boring. So this adds a little variety. And then I'm trying to get to B minor because there's an emotion change here when she walks through the darker hall. And then after she walks through that darker hall, there's this really cool trick called chromatic mediance. I think I use, what was it? I think it's E major to C major to A major. And it creates this really kind of heroic, that's not really the emotion I was going for, not heroic necessarily, but it can be used in a heroic manner. But it creates this cinematic lift. Ooh, ah. I'll point out when I do it. Okay, so walking through it again. So, A minor, B, E, D major, and B minor. This is when we're in B minor. And here's the chromatic median, E, C major, A major. Very fun. Very, very fun. And now this is a fun trick to add a little bit of mystery. I ended on A major, and now I'm oscillating back and forth on the vibraphone from A major to its tritone. Let's see, A major's tritone. What was it again? I don't actually, I'm not sure if that's right. I'll come back to that, or I won't. I might forget. Okay, so here I just introduced a little bit of sound design. I'm going to back it up one more time. So just creating a little bit of mystery here. I don't remember what I did there. That's going to bother me and make me look stupid at the same time. We've got the harp and some chimes, and I think for a moment I'm using the diminished scale. And then we just introduce some sound design, this rumbling and growling, this uncertain, this kind of airy, breathy darkness. While she's hearing that melody, you know, she's going into someplace that's obviously scary. Now I'm going to transition into what I call I'm going to stop it here. What I call the cousin of the main melody. So I make another piece that is in A harmonic minor. It's mainly 3 chords. It's A minor, D minor, A minor, D minor, and then there's a G sharp diminished chord in there, and that's all there is. And this is also another exercise of how to get a lot of mileage out of the same melody, because I'll repeat it 4 or 5 times. However, I do implement key changes and borrowed chords. There's actually a lot of music theory that went into making this cousin of the main melody. I'll play it through and then we'll talk about it. Okay. So this melody I starts off very soft and gentle because we are fading back to reality. So I introduce it with just a solo violin. I think there's a cello underneath and a little bit of piano. So I'm introducing it the first time without the audience really probably noticing it. And it fades in from almost, silence isn't quite the right word. And then after he knocks the music box off, I introduce a little doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo on the piano. Right. The reason for that is because he's about to get to work. This creates a little purpose and intention, right? And now he has a mission, right? He has a mission. He's got something that he needs to accomplish, and a little dun-dun-dun. It's a simple trick. Sometimes it creates a sense of drive. The little ostinato, and it will get buried while the melody comes in. But there's still just enough of it to be a driving force. I mean, we're not trying to boom, 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 boom. We're just trying to put a little bit of forward momentum, and that's what that does. So here it is again. You'll hear the little ostinato coming in, and I'm just kind of doing the 1-3-1-3-1-3 of each chord. And we'll introduce the melody again, but a little bit more pronounced. And the timing of this is really important. See the grimace on his face here? Right during the diminished chord, it's very intentional. And then we do a wash here with the harp. It's very subtle in the background to give it the effect of time. All right, so this section that you're hearing is it's chromatic, and it's a D part from the main melody, right? It's kind of a B section, so that I can come back to the A section. Because if you just do A over and over again, that's boring, right? So I depart from it, I take a little detour, and then I come back to the main melody. And then later, I need to do the melody again, but I'm like, man, it's probably getting tired by now because I've done it 3 times. So I do a key change from A harmonic minor up to C harmonic minor, but I still put a little detour in the middle so I can come back to it. And I'll point out where that is. All right, I've made you watch this a couple times. I'll fast forward. So this is the second time we're hearing it, right? Okay, so we do the wash with the harp gliss to kind of a subtle passage of time, right? This is the detour. And for those music theory nerds, this is a chromatic passage. Now we're back to the main melody, and I've introduced a choir in the background. I've introduced the choir in the background. Danny Elfman is one of my big influences, and he uses a lot of choir with his melodies. It just creates this, I don't know how to put it. There's just this emotion that comes with the human voice. And the way he does it, I mean, no, this is a computer trying to emulate, real life. The way he does it with real choirs, it's just so beautiful. What's a good example? Edward Scissorhands. There's very light, subtle oohs, like oohs, and it is awesome. So occasionally to breathe new life into a melody, because we've heard it twice. This time I'm adding a little bit of choir, but I don't add the choir until he breaks. If you'll notice, he tries his hand at repairing the music box, and then he tests it and it snaps, and that's when the choir comes in. So let's see if you can notice this. And this detour that I was talking about, there is a chromatic line. Chromatic means every note is played, right? There's nothing in the middle. There's this chromatic rise to give a little bit of lift, a little to like a little bit of hope is the idea, because he's trying to put it back together. And then we dash those hopes by returning to the sad melody and then adding the choir. So I'm going to rewind it one more time so you can hear the detour. The B section is the more appropriate word. A little further back. Okay. See, this is a little happier. There's a little more playfulness. And then we hear, there's the main melody, and then there's the choir. Now we wash back into dream world where things aren't so happy anymore. Here's another detour, a C section. So this detour serves 2 functions. It gives me a little more variety. It gives me something in between repeating the melody yet again, and it's a vehicle for a key change. So I'm trying to work my way to C harmonic minor without it sounding like I've hit a wrong note. Without it, because whenever you hit a wrong note, like, ooh, that was a wrong note. It's like a sore thumb. It stands out like a sore thumb. So there's a method of preparing the ear with common tones that will allow the listener's ear to subtly pull to another key. And the reason I'm going to that other key is because this is like I haven't counted. It's like the fourth or fifth time I've done this melody, and I'm trying to get as much mileage out of it as I can without having to write a completely new melody. And a completely new melody in this scene, I'm trying to put, from the moment we fade into the monitor of her vital signs to the end of this cue, I'm trying to musically tie all this together, and to create a new melody, if I had to, would probably make it feel disjointed. So to tie it all together into one cohesive thing, the melody is kind of the glue. But I have to strike this balance between how effective the melody is versus the repetition of it. Because if you play it over and over and over again, it loses its effectiveness. So I have to find these vehicles to keep it interesting, and again, get as much mileage out of it as I can. So I'm changing keys and I'm introducing a C section at the same time. Introducing a little tension. Now we're in C harmonic minor. And we're fading back to reality. All right, and that ostinato, do 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 do, I fade it out. It's there through the whole thing. Okay, so this section, he's very, very alone, right? This is the kind of the all is lost. So I just have some subtle synth chords in the background. These are long, sustained block chords. Now this is me humming the music, the main melody. Now there's a couple of reasons why I went with the sustained block chords. I'm going to fast through this so you don't have to listen to it yet again. All right, there is a reason I went with the sustained block chords. And again, this is a rescore, which means this was another composer did this first. I'm just trying my hand at it so I can, while I'm in between jobs, I can keep practicing and sharpening my skills. And the main melody from the original composer was kind of baked into the animation. So this timing that I have, I'm restricted to it, and my melody is not his melody at all. So I have to break away from a metronome timing grid and kind of do it free form, to match his humming movements, because this is me humming, right? And these long, washy, sustained chords with a little bit of backing from the piano, a little bit of reinforcement, allows me to break the meter and do it kind of free form without it feeling jarring. So that's really the purpose for that. And also, there's this emptiness again in the room. So earlier I mentioned, sometimes you want a solo instrument, or just a couple of instruments to create this big space and this emptiness to kind of mirror this solitude that the character is going through. Well, I've turned that up or turned it down, whichever way you look at it, and gone a step further. And now there aren't the solo twinkling instrument or a single violin line. It's just pulled back chords that are just sustained, and that way there's this emptiness, but not completely empty. There's still enough, emotion from the chords. So, all right. So I had to record some tears and me crying, because it lost all effect. So I had to add a little bit of sound effects. And I'm going to do the same effect that I did before when we transfer to the other side. Now it sounds like it's distant and it's coming from the other side. It's washy and you see there she can hear it. Then we add a little bit of suspense here with the strings, the long sustained string, because she's about to have a boo-boo. We musically mark that. All right, and what I'm trying to do here, because the main melody is coming back, but a new arrangement. I'm actually musically trying to get us back to F Lydian and fill out this time. And here we are. Now we're back to the solo violin, but with the piano. And at this speed, it's very touching. Same melody again, but we've reinvented it. And that is Wind Up in my hand at trying to rescore it. Okay, so I don't think I have anything else to add, really. This was a fun project. It took a lot of work. It's about a 9-minute short, and it took me about a week to do it, but I was also taking my free time because this isn't a paid thing. This is just, a paid gig. This is just me messing around, trying to keep my skills sharp and exploring, taking risks. I like doing rescores because it's just my own creativity, and it's a lot of fun to see what I can come up with. Anyway, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you'd like to see more of these, please let me know. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time. I'm Nicholas Patrick, and thanks for stopping by.